Today we're going to look at my DHR1000 again. Now this is one I've looked at before. This is the one that had the bad video board. It has no analog output on playback, just a bad scrambled kind of picture. But the DV port has been working on it flawlessly until it didn't work. And without the DV port, it's kind of useless because and the analog doesn't work. Digital now doesn't work either. So it's kind of a big paperweight for me right now unless I can figure out what's wrong with it. So let's get cracking. This is my DHR1000. Top of the line, Sony mini DV and full-size DV. And yes, this is a DV cam tape, but that's only... DV cam just means it was to record on DV cam mode, which is a faster speed. So, for example, this is 64 minutes in DV cam mode, but in DV mode it will go for 140 minutes. There's larger tapes that they made. If this was full on DV mode, not DV cam but DV mode, a full tape would go up to, I think it was 240 minutes. Anyway, more tape, but in DV cam mode that was 64 minutes. I just happen to have some just to show you the size comparison. It's the same tape. It's the same tape. The cutout on the back is the same. This is kind of like the Betacam SP with the larger cassette. Works exactly the same. The tape spools open up. And I picked this deck up for I paid too much for it. Okay, I paid $50 for it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's $50 too much because it's been nothing but a headache. Now, when I bought it, the guy said there was a problem with the front loading, or the problem with the loader. In fact, I think he still got the sticker on the side. I knew that. I knew that the loader had a problem. It did. It had broken plastic gears, which I was able to mend and fix the loader, although it did break again and chew up one of my tapes, but I was able to fix it again. But this one has a fatal problem, and that fatal problem is there's no analog output. So I can pass the signal through, no problem. There's color bars passing through from my camera, my color bar generating camera. I load the tape. That closes automatically. And open it up. Press play. And I don't get a picture. I just get sound and I get this. Now, that's a problem. It's something on the analog or digital board somewhere. There's a problem. But you see, for the last, I don't know, year or two I've had this thing. That didn't matter because I was using this just for dubbing tapes to digital. All I really cared about was the Firewire. And the Firewire always worked. So I could play the tape back, take the Firewire out, plug that into my computer, and dump the tape directly onto the computer using the DV protocol. Or I could plug it into, say, a digital 8 camera or something. If I really needed to get an analog output, I could plug it into my digital 8 camera or a mini DV camera using Firewire and convert it over to analog that way. So the fact that the analog output didn't work on it really didn't matter because I wasn't using this thing for recording. One of my viewers sent me this garbage digital 8 camera because it has no picture. The camera doesn't work. I put it in camera mode, it's just got a black screen. And it's because the camera pickup, the CCD, is bad. It's not a sticking iris. We tried that. It's the CCD itself that's got a problem. So he said, just keep it. And I said, okay, great, I'll keep it. I'm going to keep it for parts because this is a DHR1000 and it's digital 8 only. There's no analog playback capability on that camera. So completely useless as a playback machine for playing anything other than digital 8 tapes. However, it's the same chassis as the DHR1000 which I have two of. So I figured I'm going to hang on to this for parts. Now I know it does work because I was given two DHR1000 One of them was trashed because some idiot their tape was so important to get out of the camera, it must have been their home porn tape or something, that they absolutely destroyed the camera, ripped the guides out and everything, just absolutely destroyed it getting the tape out. Okay, that was the DCR-TRV240, a broken one. I took the tape transport out of one of these and I put it into the 240 and made a working 240 that can play back analog and digital tapes. And then I gave away the broken 250. The camera section worked on it. Should have kept it. I could have fixed this one, but I gave it away before I got this one. I didn't want it. Here, put it up for free. Someone will take it for parts, and I got rid of it. I did keep the head drum out of it though before getting rid of it. Actually, yeah, I did. I did keep the head drum out of it, but I think the heads were trash. The person ripping the tape out damaged the heads, so I swapped the whole transport. Anyway, that's beside the point. This is just showing that it's not accepting the DV signal. The DV cable's plugged in. It's not accepting anything. It's not playing back anything. If I stop it, look, it says DV in. So it's making a connection. It sees the DV signal, but when I go into play, it's not playing. So this bloody machine has developed a problem, which basically means it's useless to me unless I can figure out why it's not reading the DV input or not outputting a signal on DV. See, there's the Firewire plugged in right there on the front. This is the video line for the color bars. It's plugged in, but it's not giving me a signal. So, I mean, it's not loose or anything. That's just the flexible cable there that's flexing. These Firewire cables are very, very flimsy and thin, and that was done for a reason. We've talked about it before, but I'll talk about it again. When I was in the service business, there was a company there, I'm sure they're still around, called Monster Cable, that made these great big ridiculously thick cables. Like, this is a standard HDMI cable, and a Monster cable would be like, you know, half-inch thick. It's ridiculous. The problem with that when it was used with camcorders and stuff, connecting down to the computer or whatever, is that the weight of the cable broke the connectors. Sony's cable was specifically thin for that reason, so it didn't add any excess stress to the connector, because those Firewire connectors were just a recipe for disaster. They would break if you so much as looked at them. Anyway, let's get this thing apart, see if I can figure out why that Firewire is not working, and get it working again. Otherwise, this machine is useless. To say all I care about on this is that the Firewire works. I don't care. I mean, I love it if the analog worked, but I really don't need the analog to work. I can loop it through a camera if I want analog, and quite often that's what I do. It's depending on whether the client wants their video on like as a MP4 or they want it as DV. If they want it as DV, I plug it into the computer and capture it that way. If they want it as MP4, I'll quite often just plug it into the camera, let the camera convert it over to S-video and audio, and then capture it directly that way. Or plug the Firewire out into my DVD recorder and let the DVD recorder convert it to analog. If I can get the Firewire working on this thing through the camera, I'll grab a DVD recorder and we'll see whether it will accept it as well. Because that's usually the way I did it. Usually, if somebody wanted something on like an MP4, I would plug this into my DVD recorder over Firewire, let the DVD recorder upscale it to 1080, and fire it out on HDMI, and then I recorded it on HDMI. And that way, it gave me the option that I could make them a DVD copy at the same time as a memory stick copy or USB, because the majority of my clients always opt. I guess I'm a good salesman in this respect, but they always opt to take a DVD copy, even if they don't have a DVD player. I recommend to my customers when they're bringing me tapes, hey, I say, would you like a backup copy on DVD for an extra $5 per tape? And usually they'll say yes, and then I can just do two of them at once, fire a tape in, record it on DVD, and take the HDMI out and put that into my digitizer. Well, it's not digitizer, it's just recording it at that point, because the DVD recorder's already done that. It's already digitized it. In this case, it's already digital. It's converted it over. But I'm gonna unplug this so it doesn't get damaged, because we all know how fragile these flimsy little cables are. I'm going to get this machine apart, and we'll see whether something can be done and make this thing work. These machines are quite easy to service. You just take the top off them. There was 6 screws at one point. There's 4 now. It only had 4 screws when I got it. As I said, for a $50 investment for a DV player that accepts both the large and the small tapes, as long as the Firewire works, that was a good deal. Because some people are asking, hundreds of dollars for these machines, and they're all very unreliable because of all the amount of plastic, as you can see. In fact, this is the very machine that's used on my logo for showing the tape lacing up. They're kind of cool. I'll eject this tape first. Get it rewound. Yep. So we'll eject the tape. What breaks on these is there's a plastic arm over here that goes into the cam gear. The mode switch gets dirty and the cam gear goes too far and snaps off a little pin that fits on the end of an arm that this guide over here that you can't see rides on. But if I load the small tape, you'll see that the tape spools here will switch. As soon as I start to push the tape in, these will pull in. I guess you don't. Yeah, you saw the move there. But it threads is exactly the same as the big tape. No difference. This thing kind of reminds me of that JVC mini DV VHS machine with the amount of plastic that's in it. But the difference is this one can take the larger tapes. Not that I don't think I've ever seen a larger tape. I got some tapes for free. A guy gave me some of DV cam and full-size DV tapes, which are the same. It's just different numbering on them. And those are the only ones I've ever seen, because nobody had these machines, right? No consumers bought these machines for recording their videos on. This was something that was just used by pros. And it never really, I don't think this ever had an impact. Even though this has got a tuner in it, I think Sony had big plans for these to replace VHS, so you could record digitally on these larger DV tapes, but it never caught on. Another failed format that could have gone somewhere. I mean, these tapes you can do high definition on, HDV, right? But I've never seen any HDV machines. If I found an HDV machine that would take the large tapes, I'd probably be dumb enough to buy it just for something to have. I've got an HDV deck, actually got several, that only take the mini tapes, which is what most people used anyway because they were just using them with the camera. But I want to pull this Firewire connector out here and just check it and see if there's any connections or anything that's bad on it. It was working. It was working one day, and then the next day it wasn't. I think it's got to be something to do with the interface, either a connection problem or something. But that's where we're going to focus and see whether I can get this thing to actually output a picture over Firewire. The analog output, I don't think there's anything I can do on that. I don't know if it's caps or chips that are bad on this because I don't have any data on them. But it could be any number of things, right, that's causing that. I'll take the board out and we'll check these connections. This is the connector that goes to the Firewire. This was a power supply one here. And see, I don't know what to expect on this. That comes off. Yeah, I guess I did need to take that out. I want to take this board out. Maybe that didn't need to come out. I think it didn't, I don't think that heatsink needed to come out. This lifts out. And then there's our favorite stupid edge connectors in the ZIF sockets. We'll just undo those. Starting to warm up. I think I'm going to need to turn on the AC. It can be an edge connector. Whoops! Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but I just ripped one of these out from the bottom, but I'm sure it's okay. I just spotted one of these. This is off the back of this edge connector. This is what gives them some support. And I just noticed that's lying in the bottom there. I don't know if it just fell off or whether it came off before, but that might affect the connection of it. That was glued on the back of this, on this one, at one point, but it's come off. I hate these stupid connectors. I hate them with a passion. I just despise those edge connectors, those ribbon connectors. I want to pop the bottom off, and I got all the screws out. Something is holding the bottom on. I got all the screws that are marked with arrows. I mean, these ones just pull this metal panel on. But the bottom cover doesn't want to come off. The way it died, say it worked one day, I unplugged the Firewire and used the Firewire for my HDV camera to transfer some stuff. And then when I put the Firewire back on, it didn't work. So I don't know whether it's a connection problem or what the story is. I guess these do have to come off because they hold the side on. I just wanted to inspect the Firewire port here and see whether there's any connections that look bad, but they look fine. And this just connects by a regular cable that goes up to this other board, the main interface board. And the solder is good on here, like this doesn't come loose or anything. I want to reflow the pins on here, and we'll try that. Because if I can't get the Firewire to work on this, then this unit is going to be completely useless to me, because the analog output doesn't work. This one might. That's the only one that the solder looks maybe a little bit iffy on. Anyway, I'm going to reflow it. Hopefully I won't wreck it. Use the least amount of solder I can. And get my extra heavy duty glasses on here so I can see what the hell I'm doing. I'm going to try that. See if I restored my connection. It's weird that when it was plugged in and not playing, it showed that it was connected. But as soon as I went into playback, it didn't show it was connected. It showed it didn't output anything. So it could be the board itself that's causing the problem. But I guess I'll find out when I plug the board back in and see whether I get any output. I'll throw the screws back in it now, put the front on it, and we'll test it. Okay, this is they call it the jungle board, I guess. This has got all the DV stuff on it, and the problem may be on this board. I hope not, because there's not a snowball's chance in hell I'm gonna be able to fix this. I wouldn't even attempt. I've had this board apart before. I think you know what I'm talking about. I was taking the screws out of the shield right now so we can take a peek at it. This is the block diagram of what the boards are. And that board at the back, as you can see, the JC13, that's your analog to digital analog converter. The Just AFC, the encode, Magic, the black compensator, FDF, CTGL, SPCON, whatever that means, SYF, DV, in out, digital audio D to A converter, audio core. That's on that. And then there's the DF10 digital filter. That's the board that I suspect that the fault is on. I don't suspect the other ones are going to cause it. The tuner and DC to DC converter obviously aren't going to cause it. There's a board at the bottom here. The YC144 is a video board. That's the one that's shielded. I think that's the one that's shielded. I can't see that one causing the problem. The big board at the back is not showing, but that's a YC board as well. It's not showing. It might be showing on another block diagram, but I still think our fault is on this board right here. The JC13 is, I think that's where the fault is. Why it has no analog video out. This is the JC13 board. This is your A to D and D to A board, and the Firewire plugs in over here, and it ends up on one of these chips. I think it's that chip there. I have to look at the schematic, but yeah, this is not something that you're repairing. This would have been a board replacement. I mean, I've checked these caps before. They all test okay ESR wise, but I'm not even going to go there because I don't want to risk screwing it up anymore unless this board is. I think this board probably is faulty, and that's why I'm not getting analog output. But I don't want to risk, if it's not damaged, like it's not FUBAR now, I don't want to risk damaging it if it's just a connection on the Firewire that's bad. I know one of those connectors, the blue plastic, which is now probably on the bench somewhere because I had it sitting on here when I turned it over. Yeah, it's back there. The blue plastic strip on it came off. That's what's there to give it more grip when you plug it in. So I'll have to deal with that, but let me get the other one plugged in first on the bottom. And I just love these stupid connectors. The stupidest, and I say stupid connectors for a reason, because they're the dumbest goddamn connectors that anybody ever came out with. Was these stupid things. Use real wires like this. That's what, you know. I'll try to hold that on the back there and shove this thing in. Because this is required to give it the extra tension it needs, right, to provide a good solid connection. So if this is missing, then there's a good chance that the connection is not going to be solid. It just clips on like that, and then there's a plug here, and there's another plug that goes in on the top. Plug that one in. I'll plug in power, and I'll see whether this thing's made any change from before. I don't expect it to be any different than before. I think it's probably still going to be NFG, but won't know until I try it. That was stuck. There we go. Oh, my color bars work. How about my Firewire? Does my Firewire work? I hate these connectors. They're too bloody small. Whose idea was this? Oh, that's right. That was Apple's idea. Okay. I don't have any color bars showing up on my little camera screen here, but let's just try loading a tape. And this is the camera that I'm trying to get a picture on. It says DV in on here, so I know it's getting a signal from here, but is it going to play a picture? What? I got a picture. DV in 16-bit. Cool. Okay, I got the DV port working. It must have been that connection. It must have been that one pin that wasn't making a connection. See, it still feels loose, right? You can still wiggle it around, but I got a picture. So that's good. I've solved that problem. So if I need analog output, I can just get it from the camera, right? Like for previewing tapes and stuff, I need to scan the tape. I just use the camera as a screen to see what I'm doing, right? That's all I really need is that, or plug in my DVD recorder, which I could certainly do that too. All right, so I've got the Firewire output now plugged into my I think it's a DR430. This is just a basic DVD recorder, a Toshiba. It's got a Firewire input, like a lot of DVD recorders did. I've got others. I've got a Sony that's got a Firewire input as well, and but this one has an HDMI out, and here I'm converting it up to 1080p and displaying it on the plasma, and it looks great. Now you might be wondering, why is this 16 by 9? Well, it's because the original video was shot in a 16 by 9. It's not a 4 by 3 recording. This was all shot on a still camera. All these shots were done on a still camera. That previous shot. This would be on the Going to the Sun highway. That's northern Montana when I shot this. I guess it was 2014. So it looks pretty good. And of course I can also output the standard definition from the DVD player as well. So I can plug that in, because this has got outputs on it. That's got an S video in as well, so if I switch the TV over to the composite input, there it is, just using the DVD recorder as a pass-through to give me a picture. And then I'll go back to interesting story about the guy in the boat that we saw there. My time lapse ended a lot earlier on that particular shot that I wanted. I wanted to time lapse a lot more, but that guy on the boat with his stupid dog came ashore, and his frickin' dog charged me and ran right into the camera tripod while I was doing a time lapse, so it kind of fucked up, excuse my French, the remainder of my shots, because when you're doing a time lapse, the camera being absolutely still is an absolute must. And I'd already been there like an hour. That was like an hour time lapsing that, to have it destroyed by an overly friendly dog that was coming up to say hello, and he ran head on into the camera. Damn near knocked the camera over. I had to grab it, or the camera would have gone over and eaten $1,000 lens. But yeah. And then the guy comes, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry about that he's friendly." Because I was shooting like one frame. I think I was shooting one frame every 10 seconds so that I could make things really fast. This is Washington State, this one. This is Cascades, going through the Cascades, this part. I shot this like in I think it was 2014, so 11 years ago. This was kind of my first attempt. I know that I'm getting some interference off the screen there just because of the resolution of the camera is a lot higher than the screen, but this was my first attempt at doing a time lapse on that particular camera. This was shot on a Sony Alpha 77, yeah, Alpha 77, which APC camera. But I had a couple good lenses that I put on it, and every shot was shot in RAW. So every single frame, there's 30 frames per second, every frame was like 24 megabytes for one frame. So 128 gig memory card doesn't hold very much data when every single photo is 24 megabytes in size. But I think my shots turned out okay. I think this turned, and then I had to process all these pictures, all these individual frames. I had to process them into JPEG files, which then I could import into the editor. Actually, I think I did it all in Photoshop. Photoshop actually turned out, it's a 4K, it's 4K files at really high bitrate. Photoshop turned out the clips, and then I put the clips together in Premiere. This is back home here. There's a big mall down there now. Where that is, all that area has been developed. I got some interesting shots. We'll see BC ferries here. We'll see the ferries undock and do a 180 here in high speed. There, the ferry's arriving. Oh, what happened there? Glitch in the tape, I guess. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy. I think this one, I can call this one a success. Started out with no Firewire working, ended with a Firewire working, and yeah, the analog still is foobar, but that's okay. I could live with that. I just need it for, there we go, the two ferries pull out and do a 180 and take off. One going to Victoria and the other one probably going to the Gulf Islands or so out there. Anyway, I think we can end this one now. There's Richmond. This was a long time lapse. This was like the sun going down. This was probably 2 hours. This sequence here, this was actually the very first sequence I tried shooting, and I probably did this in 2013. It was a while back. That was the very first attempt to shoot a time lapse with that camera. And I've got all kinds of footage. I went down through Moab, I went down through Canyonlands, I went through Bryce Canyon. I've got a couple hard drives full of shots that I haven't stuck together yet. Someday I will put them together into a movie. This sequence was shot on video. This was shot on a 4K video camera and just sped up in post, and you can see the difference in the quality between shooting on video and speeding it up and shooting individual stills at very high resolution. Anyway, I'm going to end it now. I'm happy this is working again, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, big up to all the viewers. Listen to the vibes. Down in the heart of the beat, we're rolling tonight. 12 all vids, got the spark, everything's alright. From cars to the sounds that make you feel free. We're grateful for the love, you're the family. Late nights and bright lights, cruising the lane. With every video drop, you're calling our name. So we sing it loud, let the world hear our sound.